Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 5 of So You Want to Be an AI Superstar. This session is for anyone who's curious about using AI to help simplify tasks and make you more productive. My name is Ellen, and I'm joined today by Yvonne, who will guide you through some exciting ways to use the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, both for your work and home use. Yvonne, let's dive right into the basics. So where can I find the Microsoft 365 Copilot app and who can use it?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me, Ellen. It's great to be here, and I'm excited to share um, what you can do with the M365 Copilot app with you and our viewers. Before I jump in, a quick little overview of the app. Um, Really, the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. Think of it as like your AI first productivity app where you come here and you can, search for your files, for your photos. You can chat with Copilot chat, which is really at the center of the experience. It has agents where you can perform like advanced AI functionality, which I'll walk us through here in a moment, as well as creating imagery for like social media posts or for greeting cards, etc. And then you're able to also launch your Office apps from here to go, into kind of like deeper work, depending on the document that you're working on. So really, this is, it's kind of like a one-stop shop for like really all of your productivity needs, with really Copilot chat being at like the center of the experience. Already preloaded into your Windows PC. On the mobile apps, on your mobile device, you can download the mobile app in the Google Play Store, as well as the iOS App Store, or you can go into your browser and just type in Microsoft365.com, and you'll be able to use the web app, which is what I'll be demoing in today. So plenty of options.
Great. And if you're following along at home trying to download the app, let's say on your mobile device, you might notice that there is a Microsoft Copilot app and a M365 Copilot app, and they look very similar in the App Store. This came up in our last webinar when we were showcasing the Microsoft Copilot app. So how should I think about using one versus the other?
That is a great question, and one that we often get. I would look at it as really depends on, I would look at them as two very helpful tools, but that do different things. So it just kind of depends on what you're needing to do. So as I mentioned, like with the M365 Copilot app, it's really like integrated into your Office apps. And so if you are, needing to create documents, if you're needing to, let's say, create a report, which I'll show you with one of our agents researcher, um, you come to the M365 Copilot, to do that. You can also access this Copilot within the actual individual apps to leverage Copilot and AI within those individual apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. Whereas the Microsoft Copilot app, that's really more of like your everyday companion. So you can ask it questions that you normally would, for example, in like a search engine, or um, really tap into some of its cool capabilities like vision and like podcasts that are slightly different from productivity, which is what the F365 Copilot app is really, at its core of its abilities. So it really just kind of depends on what it is that you're doing.
Awesome. Thank you for clearing that up for us. Let's get into the chat experience with M365 Copilot, which is a great opportunity to dig in a little more around prompting. You've probably heard this word and even used it a lot.
So really the way to think about prompting is in creating like a framework, a structure for which you can guide, Copilot. So the first thing that I would think about is like the role. So I'm going to roll and then be specific about a task and then give it some guardrails. So I'll put it in an example. Let's say I'm a small business owner, and I'm going to ask, I need some ideas for a caption for a social media post, but I'm not very creative. And again, I'm a small business owner, so I don't really have a social media marketing manager on staff. So I'm going to go to Copilot and I'm going to give it, I'm going to give it the role, which is your social media marketing manager. Then going to give it some context that I run, a move-in business for college students, and then give it the task. I need 3 captions for a photo that I'm going to post on social media. So, and then I'm going to give it some guardrails like don't be cheesy. So I added an image along with the text, and then I'm going to submit it. And then Copilot, scans the image and it gives me 3 different pretty good options, I'd say. But if you want to like continue to hone in and fine tune it, for example, I forgot, I probably should include a call to action. So I'm gonna click on the suggestion, and then Copilot will continue to refine the output, in this case, the social media post copy. And then, I'll select the one that I, you know, that'll work best for my post.
Awesome. Yeah, this is really handy when you're, juggling so many things, your creativity is drained, and you just need a little help with these sort of things that you have to get off your plate. So thank you for sharing this with us. We're going to include this prompt in the chat so that you can try it out, iterate on it, especially if you are using Copilot for work. Please tell Copilot what its role is. Is it your business manager, your creative director, your accountant? Give it the task, and then put in your guardrails. And if you have a file you need it to absorb to help that task, you can upload it or link to it in your prompt.
Just really quick, what I wanted to add is that, to your point of like uploading an image, you can actually also create an image. And so in this case, I skipped showing you, but earlier I created an image using Create, in which I asked Copilot to create an image of a college student moving in. And Create is awesome because it really like creates imagery just by describing what it is that you need. So again, in my case, small business owner, I also don't have a design team. So I went to Create and I asked it to create an image, and you can see the prompt that I added here. Can you create an image of a college student moving into a college dorm? So then I downloaded that image, and then went back up to chat to give it the prompt that I walked us through. So I wanted to make sure to highlight this really cool feature in the app as well. But to go back now to your next question, which is about really interacting with chat and like getting started when you don't really know how to get started. Let's say another scenario is where, for example, let's say I want to plan a dinner party at my apartment for my friends and I don't really um, I'm not a great cook, and so that you can help me to figure out what my checklist should be. So I'm going to give it the prompt, and I'm literally going to start a conversation with Copilot. It's going to ask me a series of questions to again like help me to hone in on my shopping checklist. So it's asking me, do I want to cook everything myself or make a mix of homemade dishes and store-bought items? I want to cook everything myself, but as I mentioned, I'm not a very good cook. So I'm going to ask it to please keep it simple. So then it'll continue to, ask me additional questions. Let's go with some comfort food.
Comfort food's always good.
Especially this time of year, for sure.
Yeah.
And let's keep it to a main dish and some sides. no dietary restrictions that I know of. Let's go with the roasted chicken. And so here it gives me a simple list. And then it continues to ask me questions if I want to, things that I actually quite frankly hadn't really thought about, like, oh, um, should I add a dessert? And so it'll give me some suggestions that will go well with this menu. And awesome. It's asking me, do I want to combine everything to a shopping list? Yes, please. And voila. It gives me a full list of all the different dishes as well as the dessert. Um, and then, it can even create a cooking timeline. So I'm just going to ask it to please export the checklist. And this way, you can download it and take it with you. The other option that you have is to download the mobile app. You can just open up the mobile app, and you can go to your chat history and it'll have the list of all the different ingredients. And so there you have it. You can plan a full meal for 8 people, even if you've never done it before, help of Copilot.
No, that's great because the first demo you did was something where you're putting a lot of specific information, the role, task, guardrails. And then this one is something where you had sort of a vague idea and you kind of had it form the structure of it for you. It's kind of like when you don't know what you want for dinner and then people start throwing in options and you're like, no, 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 but it helps you narrow it down. So I really like this approach because the details are not always at the forefront of your mind when you're trying to do prompting. So I like the structure of having it ask you questions. So your prompts don't need to be perfect in the beginning. Think of them as drafts. If you don't like the response that it's giving you, remember, you can always give it more guardrails or just tell it to try again. Copilot's feelings will not be hurt. I have literally told Copilot, that's not what I asked for. And it didn't blame my prompt. It just apologized and it did it again. And I noticed you used a lot of please in here. So cultivating a good relationship.
Absolutely. And you can use it really like to plan other things. So for example, if you want to plan like a road trip and you know that like me, like I know the destination, but what's going to happen between now and the destination, like I'm very open and like go with the flow. So I can ask Copilot, for example, like I'm going on a road trip to X destination and have it ask me questions about, where, what I should do, where I should stop, as well as like helping me with, my packing list, so that, I'm well prepared. And so to your point, like really, I mean, one of the great things is that it also just like asks you very insightful questions that maybe you hadn't thought about.
Yeah. And I did notice, as you exported it out into, whether it's a PDF, a Word doc, or even an Excel, that is something that is unique to M365 Copilot. You can choose what type of format you want it downloaded in. It's really that hub between your different apps. So thanks for showing that to us. Sure. Digging into that a little bit more, one of the things that you showed in the demo about the move-in business was, you grabbed an image and you asked it to help you with the post. So I want to get into that a little bit more, using your existing files and having M365 Copilot help you accomplish a task with it. So one of our previous webinars, we learned that that's called grounding. So can you show us a little more about using the chat, but like referencing your existing documents to help you with something?
Yeah, I'd love to. So let's say, what's an example? Let's say I'm a first-time home buyer, and you have your loan pre-approval letter that lets you know how much you can afford. But all the different like loan options that are out there is, and a lot of the content in the letter is kind of like gibberish. And really, you just kind of want to get more informed on it, but on your various options. But like, you want it to be grounded in your actual like data. And so I'm going to go to chat, and I'm going to put this prompt in about, again, giving it context that I'm a first-time home buyer, and I'm looking to understand my loan options. I know about like that there's like a 15-year arm and like and like a fixed 30-year arm, and but I don't really know what it means. So I'm gonna ask Copilot to like give me more information on that and create a comparison table based on the details of my pre-approval letter, so that I can understand like what's going to be my monthly payment and interest over time. So I'm going to do backslash, which automatically then kind of prompts the modal so that you can pull um, documents from your OneDrive. So I'm going to add the pre-approval letter, and then I'm going to submit. And so while it's reviewing this, it'll ask me a series of questions as well, to help, hone in, for example, like, a breakdown of the ARM payments after the initial period. And it'll give me this really helpful table on the various terms and what my monthly payment will be, total interest paid, et cetera, over the lifetime of the loan. It'll also give me, and I do want to note, like, it's not going to give you like financial advice, but it will give you insights for you to think about. Like, like obviously, like with a 15-year loan, your monthly payment is going to be higher, but you'll actually be able to, pay it in less time, and then it'll give you the information associated with like, the lifetime of the loan, et cetera. And so this just gives you like a really good kind of like baseline for you able to like go out and explore more of your options. The other thing that you can do is you can also create, so this is just going straight up to chat and asking it this, and uploading your document to ground the response on. What chat is doing is obviously like going through the contents of your document, but then also like pulling information like from the web and like combining the two to give you an informed answer. You can also go to notebooks, and you can create a notebook where you keep all of your documents. So in this example, I put my home buying docs in this notebook, my pre-approval letter, as well as my budget. And then you can also ask it questions here about the actual documents, within your notebook. And then, so it's two different ways in which you can, approach kind of getting an answer that's grounded, from your documents.
Are the, can I ask the question?
Yeah.
Are the contents of your notebook actual files dropped in there, or are they links to things that are out in your OneDrive somewhere?
So these are like, so you can upload them from like your local like desktop, but you're uploading them it saves it to your OneDrive, to the cloud. And so then as you're asking Copilot questions, it's pulling it from your cloud, from OneDrive.
Oh, okay.
And so then you can also, you can go here and actually look for to your OneDrive, and actually launch your OneDrive and organize your files there as well. And then you can pull in different files into your notebook. And so in this case, I could also add like, if there's the chat output that I just got about the comparison table, I could like add that. It'll house it in here as well.
Oh, that's great.
So it's a place to like, it's like a place where you can go and literally it's a notebook of like all of the references that you have for your particular topic.
That's awesome. Thank you, Yvonne. Yeah, so there's notebooks and then there's chat, and both are sort of great ways to get into something meaty like home buying.
That's right. Well, and then also, if you can also use it. So I know I've been very much focused on like home like examples, But if you have an M365 Copilot for work, think about it as like notebooks for various projects that you have, work
Mhm.
projects, that you can like make a collection of those documents and then just ask Copilot, a series of questions. Same for like researcher, for example, which I'll go into an example. I'll walk us through a demo here in a moment. But in it, that's also one where you can very much use it for work, as well as like home examples. And I'll walk through kind of what that difference is there.
Yeah. So I've got a good use case for you, for a researcher, which is what we're going to transition into. So I, getting ready for the holidays, I've got my reindeer sweater on. I don't know if you can see. I have a lot of family members, but my budget does not really meet the number of family members I have. I have to read through like BuzzFeed articles or just go on sites and like filter things to try to get gift ideas or do price comparisons and all of that. Researcher, I was thinking would be a really good case for this. It's only available to Microsoft 365 Premium subscribers. So we wanted to do a little show and tell of how Researcher works, so you can see what it can do. So
Uh, Totally. And this is during the holidays, or really like in any occasion where you want to be a more informed shopper. Researcher is a great resource, for that. For example, um, I'm going to ask it to essentially to compare, or to help me surface different laptop options that are good for schoolwork and also for online gaming. So I'm going to give the context. I'm a father looking for the perfect laptop for my son. Um, they need it for their schoolwork, but I also know that they're into gaming, so I want to make sure that it serves dual purpose. And I'm going to ask it to compare different Windows laptops that are under $1,000, and that has positive like customer reviews. And so going back to that prompt structure, right? Like I'm giving it information like the context, I'm giving it a specific task, looking for a laptop, and then I'm giving and comparing the laptops, and then giving it some guardrails. Um, and so researcher is going to um, uh, go and really like scour the web, um, and uh, and really saved me a ton of like work, in searching, the different websites and the different platforms, and then looking at the user reviews and all that jazz. And plus, I'm not a super like hardware technical person, so understanding like the video game components especially like is beyond my knowledge. And so I really need researchers to help me with that. And again, it's going to ask you a series of questions to like hone in um, what its recommendations are. And so as it's searching for that, I actually had already done this earlier today, so I'm going to save us some time as well, and just get cut to it. It gave me, it asked me the same questions it did before, and then it gave me the comparison table of the three different, laptops that it recommends, given the guardrails that I gave it. Again, good for schoolwork and gaming, under $1,000. And so it gave me, this table that breaks down a lot of this, information on storage, battery life, etc. As I mentioned, like especially when it comes to gaming, I'm not very knowledgeable in terms of like hardware and what's needed. And so the great thing about Copilot, researcher within Copilot, is that it also will at the very end, and I'll show you here in a moment, after it gives you all this information like per laptop, it'll then give me an actual a tee up a recommendation based on what is important, to me. For example, like am I looking for one that has the highest gaming performance, or am I looking for one that has a better display, or something that's more versatile and portable. And so based on those qualities, it'll then let me know which of the three is is the best fit for that. And so then I can again make an informed decision with a researcher, and saving me a ton of legwork and a ton of time in going out to the various sources, to research each one of these laptops, read the customer reviews, and then
Yeah.
and then going out and purchasing it.
That's really dense. Like there was a lot of information it has in there.
Yeah. It definitely, if you want to nerd out, it gives you that information, like all that information to go in. But if you're just like, I just need a recommendation, like
Yeah.
then you can come down to the very bottom, and it'll and this is the general structure of like the research will give you, if you're depending on like if you're asking it to compare products, or give you a recommendation on something, it'll tee up different options and insights to consider per. Um, and then you can also use it, kind of going back to like, a work example. Um, work. This is the version for home. Um, but if you have the version for your work, it actually gives you the option, the ability, to also ask it questions about files like on your SharePoint, on your work SharePoint, for example. And that way, it again saves you a ton of legwork and time. If by reading through different like white papers or other research that's been conducted that's relevant to your work, as well as if you want to ask it questions from the web. So that's another way in which researcher can really be your research assistant both at home and at work.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. If you're interested in trying out these agents, so researcher being one, we have others, you can try a month of Microsoft 365 Premium for free as a trial. But researcher is one of those features that's available to our premium subscribers. Can you talk a little bit about privacy? Kind of what gets retained for M365 Copilot?
Sure. So you have control over what you save on Copilot, your conversations, and the content. So, for example, the conversations the prompts in that I put it in the conversations that we had, I can delete them. And so really you have total control over how, the information that you retain in your Copilot, in your app.
Awesome. What are some of the other features you get with a premium subscription?
So with the premium, it's our highest level of, if you think about it, like from like an AI benefit perspective, you get all of the premium agents, as well as the highest usage for select Copilot functionalities across, not only this app, but also your Office apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So really, it's the most beneficial plan for like heavy AI users. And then also like if you want to explore and really learn about how to take AI for yourself to the next level with these agents. Because the agents are only accessible if with a premium subscription.
That's awesome. Yeah, so Frontier is there in parentheses. So you mentioned that's sort of the newest features.
Yeah. Yeah. So for example, Frontier is a program that you automatically get access to with the premium subscription. You also have access to it with a personal family, but the agents that you get within Frontier that you can test out are going to be different.
So I see questions about more differences between how do you know if you're in Copilot versus Microsoft 365 Copilot? I can address this if you're on the web. First of all, if your URL is copilot.microsoft.com, you're in Microsoft Copilot. If your URL looks like the one Yvonne is showing up above, you're an M365 Copilot. And in M365 Copilot, you will notice, even though both of them have a chat, M365 Copilot has the kind of Word, Excel, PowerPoint apps that Yvonne was showing earlier along the left side. Whereas Microsoft Copilot, you'll see like Discover, like there might be just other things, but you won't see Word, Excel, PowerPoint on the side for Copilot on the web. So that's kind of one way to sort of distinguish. On mobile and stuff, when you see the apps or the icons, this one that we're talking about has a little M365 badge on it as well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And also, like, if you're on your Windows device, in the taskbar, you'll see the M365 Copilot icon. Similar to here, it says M365 versus just Copilot. And so really kind of visually, also I'm a very visual person. So what helps me to distinguish the two also is beyond on top of the functionality that Ellen described, is also like the icon in the name.
And the other thing is, if you have a free or a basic subscription, what's open to you for M365 Copilot is really the chat part, but things like, I think, notebooks, right? Those are part of a personal and family or premium subscription. Is that right, Yvonne?
That's right. Yeah.
So you'll see different things.
Yeah. And really, I mean, like the functionality is for the M365 Copilot app. This is really grounded in like productivity. And even like with the chat, for example, with Copilot chat within the app, we were able to create documents from it. We were able to ground the information that we were getting from the chat based on documents that are saved into our OneDrive, or that are uploaded from our desktop, from our device, as well as your ability to launch the various Office apps. And so really, that is kind of at the core of the difference between the two. M365 is very much a productivity AI hub.
Cool. I think that brings us to the end of today's session. So thank you, Yvonne, for taking us through all the demos. Hopefully you all found something useful you can take into your daily life. Thank you to everyone for joining us. We would love to know what sort of features or scenarios you want us to spotlight in upcoming webinars. With that, I hope everyone has a great day, rest of your day, or a great evening, depending on where you are. And we will see you next time.